So let's get started. And again, Russ and Brandon, thank you for filling in there. It was a team effort. We did it. Go team.
Go team.
All right. Good. So I want to start by sharing a story with you. It was several years ago. I was at a Whole Foods, Anissa, and I like going to Whole Foods because you can go buy food, generally of good quality, that they make fresh there. And then they have these dining halls. You can go sit down. And I grabbed my food and I was walking to the dining hall, and I walked past this gentleman who was sitting at a 4-person table, but he had it all to himself, which was fine. But it was interesting because as I looked over at his table, he had these books splayed out covering every square inch of the table, and they were all open. And I took a glance at it as I walked by, not trying to be too intrusive, but trying to, what's he doing? And it looked like books on art. So I sat down and I went about just eating my lunch and doing whatever I was doing, maybe on the phone and just, occupying my time. And every once in a while, I'd glance up and look over at him, because it's still in my mind. I'm thinking, what's this guy doing? He looked like he was probably in his early 70s. And it just seemed odd to me that he had a table for 4 when, the dining halls usually are typically packed, and he's got these books splayed out. And I'm wondering, what is he doing? And so finally, my curiosity got to me. He kept looking up at me. We made eye contact a few times. And I said, okay, I'm going to go over and talk to this guy. So I did. I walked over and I introduced myself. And I said, what are you doing here? And he said, well, I'm studying. I said, you're studying? And he said, yeah, I'm auditing a course up at the University of Utah. I said, oh, that's interesting. I said, it looks like artwork. He said, yeah, it's actually Japanese art. I said, really? I said, why Japanese art? He said, well, I actually have a PhD in it. I said, you do? I said, well, I guess never too late to learn, huh? And he kind of chuckled. And I said, well, that's cool. I said, I know you're not old enough. I'm always curious with older people, especially, in their 70s, 80s, and so forth, if they served in the war, because I like history, and particularly 20th century history, World War II and so forth. So I said, look, I know you're not old enough to have served in World War II. I said, but did you happen to serve in any of the other wars? And he said, yeah, I served in the war. And I said, well, wait a minute. Most people, when they say I served in the war, they mean they served in World War II. You're not old enough to have done that. I said, so was it Korea? And he said, no, I served in the war. And I said, you served in World War II? And he said, yeah. I said, impossible. He said, no, I just turned $1. I said, you just turned 100 years old? He said, yeah, this was April of the year. And he said, yeah, I just turned 100 in February. So a couple months before, this guy who's sitting at this table, who's studying Japanese art, has a PhD in it, is 100 years old. And that blew my mind. And so I just started asking him more questions. I said, so, well, how did you get into Japanese art? And he said, well, I've always been fascinated by it. So I studied it, got a PhD. And I said, well, what did you do in the war? He said, well, he said, did you ever see the movie Monuments Men? And I said, yeah, of course. He said, where they went into the European theater, and it was their task, their goal, to protect all the art that the Nazis had stolen from the various countries that they pillaged. And he said it was their job to go in and recover it and protect it and return it to the rightful owners. I said, yeah, it was a fantastic movie. He said, well, that was basically what I was, but in the Pacific Theater. He said, I was General MacArthur's right-hand man. And when we went into Japan, when the Japanese surrendered, it was my job to oversee the recovery and the protection of Japanese art, to preserve it for them, for their country, and for the world. I said, to your point, I said, wow, that is fascinating. I said, I am sorry, but this is really cool for me. I said, because I feel like I'm actually talking to somebody, this is history.
Right.
I said, this is really cool.
Yeah.
And he said, well, he said, thank you. And I guess he was impressed with my interest in him and his story. And he said, you know what? I'm leading an expedition in the fall. I'm going to Japan. And he said, I'm just bringing some of my close friends and associates. He said, you should come with us. I said, really? And he said, yeah. I said, well, let's exchange information. Let's do this. And so he gave me his information, gave me his number, and we communicated a couple times. Well, in the middle of the summer, around June or July, he got sick, and he notified me that he was going to have to cancel the expedition. And then a year later, he passed away. Now, I looked him up. His name is Lennox Tierney. If you care to look him up, Lennox, Lennox, Lennox Tierney, T-I-E-R. I think it's N-N-E-Y. It may be one N, but T-I-E-R-N-N-E-Y. I looked him up, and he received the highest honor from the Japanese government that a foreigner can receive for his work during World War II with Douglas MacArthur. Now, why do I share that story with you? I mean, what does that have to do with real estate, John? Well, I think it has everything to do with real estate. In fact, as I was making notes about this conversation this morning, I wrote this down, and I just want you to listen to what I'm saying here. Real estate is and has always been about people first, not houses. Real estate is and has always been about people first, not houses. Do you know what I'm talking about? Does that make sense? Say aye. Okay. So there are two axioms that I have tried to adopt over the years of being in real estate. And I want to share those two with you, gang, because I believe it doesn't matter what the market's doing. I don't care if we're in an up market, a down market, a transitioning market, a flat market. I don't care what type of market we are in. If we recognize the axioms for success in real estate, we will always be what? Successful. Say it with confidence. Successful. We'll always be successful. But we have to recognize the axioms or the truths, the principles, the foundational truths. And one of those is this, is that simply real estate is not about houses, it's about people. And so one of my axioms in real estate is this, it's, I really want to know. I really want to know. So my question for you is, are you waking up every day with this attitude of, I really want to know? That you really want to know, you want to get to know people. You care about people? Or is it you just care about getting another listing or getting another contract signed or getting another closing? Because gang, that approach, it's transactional and that'll get you some business, but it won't get you enough. I believe that real estate is a relationship-based business. And those who are best at building relationships will always be the best at getting listings and helping more people buy and sell real estate. Yes?
Yes.
So that's one of my axioms. I really want to know. I really am curious. It's one of the reasons that you hear me talk consistently about the power of communication and what makes a great conversation, asking questions. I ask questions because I do really want to know. But for my curiosity, that day when I was sitting there having lunch, minding my own business to some extent, I never would have had the opportunity to meet a legend, a bit of American history, of world history. Because of my curiosity got to me, I stood up and asked this stranger a question and got to meet a delightful man who lived an amazing life. Because of that axiom, I really want to know. The second one I want to share with you is this. I'm more curious and less judgmental. I am more curious and less judgmental, which I think is really important, especially in today's world. It is so easy to be judgmental.
Agreed.
Right?
Yes.
It is so easy to be judgmental. So one of my axioms, I'm not perfect at it, but it's one of the things that I try to do. I try to be more curious and less judgmental. And that's why I wrote it in the present state. I am more curious and less judgmental. So are you? Again, if you look at those two axioms, I really want to know, and I'm more curious and less judgmental. What does that speak to? It speaks to what I said in the beginning. Real estate is and has always been about who? People, and not about what?
Real estate.
It's not about houses. It's not. And those of you who think it's about real estate and about houses will always be confused and will always struggle and will always never have enough business. Those who recognize that real estate is about people and then go about the job of connecting with people, of discovering people, discovering their wants, their wishes, their hopes, their desires, their fears. In other words, really understanding, just as I did with Lennox Tierney that morning almost a decade ago, is really understanding and hearing their what? Their story. So what does that mean? I mean, how does that practically apply for you today? John, what can I do today? How can I go out and make a difference in my business today based upon the principles we've talked about? Well, here's my question for you. What's your intention every day? Did you wake up with an intention this morning of focusing on people? Did you wake up this morning with the intention of being more curious and less judgmental? Did you wake up with the intention of saying, I'm going to find one person, just one person who is interested in buying or selling real estate, that I'm going to discover what their wants, needs, wishes, desires, hopes, and fears are. In other words, I'm going to listen to their story. And that when you do that, when you take an interest in people, people take an interest in you. Lennox Tierney offered to take me to Japan with him. This living legend offered to take me to Japan because I'm a nice guy, because I'm smart, because I'm good looking. No, because I took an interest in him. And you have to take an interest in people. And that starts by proactively reaching out to them. Real estate is a direct sales business. You have to go out and find the people in order to have the inventory, the houses. So you have to build relationships with people. You have to go out and have the attitude of, I really want to know, and to be less judgmental, to be more curious. So I wrote this down. And it's a question for you, and I want you to write it down. What is my daily intention? What's my daily intention? See, because I believe that what we focus on, we get. If you want to focus on the negative, you want to focus on the fact that real estate is a transitioning market in today's world, that people are uncertain, that interest rates are going up, and that I think the Fed's going to be announcing a rate hike again today, 75 basis points, as many as 100 basis points. Is that what your focus is? See, because if that's what your focus is, you're focused on the wrong thing. I would like you to answer the question of, who am I going to talk to? Where am I going to talk to them? In other words, how? Is it going to be the door, or is it going to be the phone? So who am I going to talk to? Where am I going to talk to them? I'm going to talk to them at the door or on the phone. And when am I going to talk to them? Who, where, and when? See, if I think you answer those questions, it tells me that you have the right focus and the right intention. And focus is a powerful thing. When you think about it, what's more powerful, an incandescent light bulb or a laser? Which one's more powerful? Yeah, a light bulb will illuminate a room, but a laser will cut through steel. And why is that? What makes that possible? It's focus. A laser is really fundamentally no different than a light bulb, but the difference is a light bulb diffuses its energy and scatters it, whereas a laser does what? It focuses it in a single point. So if you want to get better results, get focused. Really get clear about what your intention is on a daily basis. See, I believe your intention should be, since real estate is people-based, it's relationship-based, is focus on setting one appointment a day. In other words, having one great conversation every single day with a human being to discover their wants, needs, wishes, desires, hopes, and fears. And if you will do that, I promise you, if you'll do that consistently, over time, you'll have more business than you could possibly handle. And I really mean that, more than you could possibly handle, which means you're going to have to grow a team. You're going to have to leverage the time and ability of other people. And how cool would that be? Would it be cool? Say yes.
Yes.
But see, we have to recognize that real estate is not about houses. It's about people. Remember those two axioms. I really want to know, and I'm more curious and less judgmental. And answer those questions. Who am I going to talk to? Where am I going to talk to them? In other words, is it going to be the door, or is it going to be the phone? And when am I going to do that? In other words, have a schedule. Create a schedule that says, this is what I'm going to do, and this is when I'm going to do it. And I promise you, if you will do that, it doesn't matter what the market is doing. It just simply doesn't. It doesn't matter what the Fed does today. It doesn't. Your outcomes will be dictated by your focus. And we focus on the right things and the good things, then good things will happen. And when you focus on human beings and you connect with them, you will inspire them, you will motivate them, you will help them feel safe and secure to follow your lead. And that's what real estate is about. It's about leadership. It's about inspiring people to help them feel safe and comfortable to follow your lead through the process of helping them get ultimately what it is that they want. Because real estate is not about houses, it's about people. Fair enough?
Yes.
All right. So amen.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Okay, we're going to collect after the event, so be generous. All right. Okay, gang. Those of you on Zoom, thanks for joining us. You know the routine. Let's grab our closing affirmations and finish this off with a lot of energy.